It's John and Rachel,
Yep.
and we're jagging around again this week with somebody
You
special.
making my dreams come true. Ooh, ooh. Making my dreams come
Elliot,
true.
how do I make it stop? I don't know.
I brought it down. I brought it down.
There's a switch on the back. There's a switch on the back.
We think so. Elliot Lewis, welcome to Pittsburgh. We are so excited that you are coming in. We got your email, found out that you were coming to City Winery, and everything in Jagville stopped because you are true music royalty.
You know, it's been quite the journey, and I never thought that I would end up here so many years later.
We do some research, and by research on all of our guests, we need about 10 or 15 minutes of Googling, but you actually brought us about 8 hours of research because once we knew you had been on Daryl's house, then I said, wait a minute, we got to go back and re-watch all of those because it was one of my favorite shows. And so we watched about 6 episodes and we're like, that's him. That's him. That's him.
Freeze frame.
So you were on Daryl's house, but give everybody an idea of, other than the highlight of your career being on Jaggin Around with John and Rachel, what other people have you worked with?
You know, back, when I was 16 years old, I transitioned to guitar. Long story short, but I kind of like, being in a band was not really going anywhere for me, like a lot of musicians. So I became a songwriter. I really focused on being a songwriter. I eventually got a publishing deal in the 80s with Sony and then with Warner Brothers. So I was one of those guys that was a songwriter, wanted to be a producer, be a studio guy. And but that led into meeting Alan Gorey from the Average White Band. We became songwriting partners. We're just songwriting partners for a couple of years. They decided to put the band back together. So all of a sudden I found myself out touring the world and, playing with James Brown and Earth, Wind and Fire and the Isley Brothers and all the great soul bands. And even just before then, I worked with Dan Hartman, who wrote "I Can Dream About You." Right. I did a lot of records with him. In fact, I played on Tina Turner's "Simply the Best," which is a big hit, of course. So that's sort of where it started for me. And really, because of the association with the Average White Band, that's how I really ended up joining Hall & Oates, because the bass player Alan Gorey and Daryl had been friends since the 70s. Both bands were on Atlantic Records. They sort of had their signature records on Atlantic back in the 70s. So they knew each other for a long time. And Daryl would come to see the band, see the Average White Band. Sometimes he would sit in, we'd be over in London. And so he saw me in that environment over the course of a few years. And at some point, he made it known that he wanted me in his band. So eventually, when I was ready to leave the Average White Band, and I was sort of a free agent, I got off the road for a couple of years because I had been touring for decades. And that's what led me to be in Hall & Oates. And then subsequently, live from Daryl's house, I was there from day one, and it all unfolded.
You're coming to the City Winery tomorrow night, Wednesday night, and so people can get tickets online there for sure. And when they come, what will they see? You have some rich music,
I do. I'll be playing a lot of my own music. I have a brand new release called Anything Is Possible. And but like I was saying, I've been so fortunate to work with so many incredible musicians and artists. So I incorporate a lot of those songs into my show. And what I do is sort of unique. It's called live looping. I don't know if you've ever heard of live looping. Mm-hmm. So it's a kind of a musician term for recording, basically. Yeah. And so my whole show is live looping. It's a one-man show. I'm playing multiple instruments. And it's very, very spontaneous. I can go from one song into another. I can lengthen things, shorten things. And it's very unpredictable. Sometimes I don't even know what's going to happen.
Do you know the website? Because we know it if you don't.
The City Winery, Pittsburgh. Yeah.
There you go.
And then, of course, mine is just eliotlewis.com. But I really hope to see a lot of old Pittsburgh friends there for the show. It's going to be great.
Okay. Well, you'll see a couple of Jags. We can't wait to see you tomorrow night, City Winery. Thanks for joining.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I look forward to seeing you.
Take us out.
You making my dreams come true.
Thank you, Elliot.